A Crime Called Freedom by Os Cangaceiros. Translator's Foreword to the first edition. The book you are reading is a labor of love. I first saw a few translations of writings by the French group Os Cangaceiros about 15 years ago. They were intriguing and I wanted to know more. It was clear that this is not another militant group of specialists in armed struggle. They had nothing but contempt for the self-sacrificial ideology and practice of militancy promoted by such groups. Several years later, I learned that Os Cangaceiros was a group comprised of delinquents who were caught up in the spirit of the French insurrection of 1968, an insurrection that was not just a student revolt, as the media had tried to portray it, but that encompassed the whole of French society. The group came together in Nice in 1968. Taking the well-known graffiti, "Never work, ever," to heart, they began creating their lives in opposition to the entire world based on work and thus constantly risked prison. They traveled all over Europe, participating in revolts throughout the 1970s and early 1980s. By the mid-1980s, their experiences with the judicial and prison systems led to focus their attacks there. Most of the material here relates to their anti-prison activity. I find the ideas they express particularly interesting because they combine the best aspects of a non-dogmatic and non-workerist class analysis with a critique of civilization that is not at all primitivist, forming a fierce theoretical weapon for use in the social war against the ruling order. Unfortunately, very few of the writings of Os Cangaceiros have been translated from French into English. Of these few translations, some seem rough and others are mere excerpts, sometimes out of sequence. I do not know French, so I was pleased when some Italian comrades published Un crimen chiamato libertà, a book which brings together a number of the texts relating to Os Cangaceiros' anti-prison activity. In that book, it was mentioned that various anarchists had translated other materials from Os Cangaceiros into Italian. I asked the Italian comrades to send me this material as well. The book you hold in your hands consists of all the texts that appeared in Un crimen chiamato libertà, except the bibliography, and a few other texts that I felt would fit here. Some of the texts from the Italian already existed in English in rough and sometimes incomplete form. I used both the rough English and the Italian translations of the English versions printed herein. In addition to the material from Un crimen, I have included the editorial notes from Os Cangaceiros, number 2, as translated from the Italian version that appeared in Anarchismo as Francia, Os Cangaceiros. This text gives some idea of social changes that happened in France in the late 1970s and early 1980s that explain why prison became a greater risk for the underclass at that time. I also included 2 texts that had already appeared in English, Nothing Human is Achieved in the Grip of Fear, and Industrial Domestication. The latter text helps to clarify some of the ideas already present in the anti-prison texts by examining the rise of industrialism, pointing out the prison-like quality of the first factories, which were designed for the domestication of the poor. I did some editing on these 2 texts to make them read more smoothly and fit the style of the others more closely. The endnotes that are signed WL are notes that I added. The rest of the notes were already in one of the other versions of the texts. I have translated some writings by people in Os Cangaceiros about millenarian revolts as well. These will appear in a separate volume, also published by Eberhardt Press. I didn't translate these texts merely for the joy of seeing writings that have inspired me printed in English. I hope they will provoke discussion aimed at creating an anti-political practice of struggle against prison and the society that creates it, a practice that goes beyond the current charity and social welfare-style practice of prison support to genuine revolutionary solidarity. This would be the greatest joy. Signed, Wolfi Landstreicher, November 2005.
On appartient pas au même bataillon. On appartient pas au même bataillon. On appartient pas au même bataillon.